Hey, Shalom, Shalom. Call hello Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kodash. Of course, double honors once again go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders. Great millstone. Salutations to the other Akim out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, all honesty and sincerity, trying to wake up the remaining, hopefully elect. This is Nama with the DC camp. And here you have it. This is from Full Spectrum Survival. He's pretty good. Uh, I recommend him to you in case you do not know about him. All right, he's one of these prepper types. All right, and he does good videos on reporting, you know, behind enemy lines, so to speak. How these guys are, the thought process, and to get a view of what people such as himself are going through and how they're preparing. All right, which a lot of you jakes, instead of always talking about or being involved in trivial shit like video games and not keeping up with what's going on in the world. All right, you, you're about to bitterly regret. All right, being stupid in the not so distant future. All right. Anyway, so it says lock your doors. They are coming for preppers. Iran and Russia threaten global trade. So, hey, let's get to it.
To lock your doors. We're getting reports from law enforcement and from individuals across the country who are sending in their local news outlet reporting that rural crimes are on an increase. It's no longer safe just to live in the countryside and have things be different than if you lived in the city. We're seeing things from car theft to violent break-ins to criminals following others home from the store
And this, we told you, was going to happen. All right? It's common sense, people. All right? They can't afford food, so what do you think? They're going to be on the heels and watching very closely those that do and just follow them. Now, you're going to have some that are going to be, hey, and this is Jake, but some of these Edomites, trust me, they might hire their own private security, whatever have you. All right, so we're going to hear about some instances where some people just get lit the fuck up. Hey, that's how it is. Continuing on.
attacking them. Kelly and I just drove by one area yesterday where the guy outside of his house had not only a motorcycle for sale, but he also had his giant 80-inch television empty box sitting out there, just telling anybody in the world, look what I just got. Go ahead, come
Yep.
inside and get it for yourself.
And Jake likes showing
This
off
is
shit.
our new reality. So when the police start telling us you better start locking your doors and you better check your windows and make sure they're locked, get to the store and get window stops, make sure that your alarm system is set up and you have a visual monitoring system for outside, we better start listening because the world is changing around us and we have two choices here. We can either prepare for it or we can get slapped in the face when reality comes for us. That's not all that's happening. Yellen, the Federal Reserve, and Yellen alike are saying that they see no way right now in which inflation is a decade-long problem.
10 years.
Can you imagine if things continue to deteriorate for the next 9.5, 10?
So what are they actually telling you? All right, if they're giving you a 10-year window. Well, aside from the fact that they're telling you you're fucked. All right, they're throwing up their hands, but they're throwing them up on purpose. This is all designed to break you people. They are going to pull out all stops, so to speak, when it comes to trying to get this new digital system. All right, and along with that, you have this. There's a reason the Georgia Guidestones have been brought up recently because that's been there since the late 70s down there in Georgia. All right, and it tells you that they want to get the population down to around 500 million. I guess what they consider manageable. All right, because they've got their own underground uh, bases, cities, whatever, however you want to put it. Bonkers would be, will not even begin to describe these elaborate as, hey, they got the money and the means to do this. All right. They think in their own twisted minds that they're actually going to survive. Well, which they are, but to show you how they don't give a fuck about anybody else. All right. This is all being done on purpose. All that food that was off the coast and all that merchandise in those ships off the coast of LA and other port cities. Where do you think that? Where do you think that went? They gave out all this baby formula, and if I'm just putting this out there for the women who are too busy to breastfeed your own children, now that shit is backfiring on you. These are things that not too long ago this was common sense, but you have become so dependent, and I'm talking about our people, our women in particular, have become so dependent on the enemy. Something as natural as feeding your own baby with your own breast milk is seen as, oh, what's the word I want to use? Um, Primitive, I guess, because you hear these Edomites want to throw that word around. But anyway, hey, all this shit is coming back to haunt you now. So all those people, especially in the city, used to make fun of the people in the country because, hey, but the thing you fail to realize, and you might be starting to realize it now, is most of those people in, you know, so, country folk, they know how to survive with a lot less. All right. But here in the cities, and this, let's be honest, these cities are going to be death traps, and that's what they're counting on. Trust me. This has been a lot of thought that went into this, a lot of planning. These psychologists slash psychiatrists, these institutes, these think tanks. There's been a lot of planning. All right, and they want everybody to be chipped. So for those people that thought it was conspiracy theory, hey, people such as myself, oh man, talk about told you so's. Not in a arrogant, uh, because the fact of the matter is, we're still in this too. All right, but there's going to be a lot of I told you so. Trust you, me. All right, but this is what you get for trusting in the enemy. All kinds of scriptures coming to mind for our people. Isaiah 30, 30th chapter, Isaiah 31, Isaiah 36 and 6. For those of you that you depend on this system so much, and now look what's look what's happening to you. You dependent so much on it now, it's gonna bite you in the ass. All right, to the point it's to your own hurt. All right. Anyway, so let's continue on.
12, 15 years, the end of the world as you knew it has already happened. We're having people every day who are waking up to the realization that they are living through an SHTF
Yep.
event
Yep.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's already hit the fan. Everybody is experiencing it differently and at their own level, and I believe that this happens in every disaster. Think of the tsunami that took place in Japan. Did you get hit by the waves? Absolutely not. Almost like, were you affected by radiation? Yes. Were you affected as highly as those in the Pacific? No. Everybody gets affected by a disaster differently. And it's the same thing with this ongoing economic, social, and global conflict crisis. You might not be affected right now because your job might be quote unquote stable. You might not be affected because you still have some money in savings and you're able to push against inflation. You might live in an area, in a city that has good law enforcement and local neighborhood watches and individuals who watch out for things, and you just haven't gotten hit by criminals yet. But there is nowhere that is safe in the country. And Kelly and I took 2 self-defense courses recently, a firearm self-defense course.
Salakia buffering now.
Shelves are running bare.
Oh, see? Goes right along with the video I'm making. I'm gonna let it run.
Congress is about to make it worse. The carbon border tax. It's inflation on steroids. It taxes fertilizer, raising prices for hardworking farmers, which means raising prices for hardworking families. The cost of food and gas will go up even more. Tell Congress that American families can't afford higher prices. Vote no on the carbon border tax.
See?
Self-defense courses.
And above all that, I mean, that was perfect timing on that. That's one commercial I welcome. But yeah, that's perfect timing. Now, on top of everything, they want to tax you for carbon. They're going to tax you for fertilizer. You need fertilizer. The farmers need fertilizer to grow the food. Don't you get it yet? This is being done on purpose. Conspiracy theory. Doesn't look too way out left field. Tinfoil hat. You know. Like I said, hey, you gotta laugh. You know. You people that had your head so far up so-called white man's ass. All right. You wouldn't listen to anybody. Now what do you say? Can't afford. You got to make a decision whether I'm gonna eat, whether I'm gonna feed my kids. Now. It's not too much longer. You're gonna have to make a decision. Do I go to work? I mean, damn. Do you realize the condition you're in now? Dire straits. Evidently not. Let's continue.
Not just because you need to brush up your own training. It's a failing mechanism if you don't continue training. And we wanted to reach out and meet some of the individuals locally who are interested in self-defense and hear what they had to say. What were they experiencing in their local environment? Here in the area that we are at, they're seeing crime increase. This is in Tampa, where the sheriff's department applauds you for taking out your firearm and defending your home, where you have a stand your ground and a castle doctrine.
Oh, yep,
Both
Florida.
those things mean that you do not have a duty to retreat, and you have a castle doctrine, which means if somebody tries to get into your house, you have the legal right to use lethal.
I'm gonna tell you something else. I'm gonna pause it here for a second, Salakia. How many of these Edomites you think are going to use this as an excuse when they say, you know, they get nervous and they like to be somewhat justified, you know? They say, well, you know, that's a dangerous. And there are other states, I know it, Georgia and Indiana, that are trying to expand the gun laws to the extent that you don't have to have permits in order to carry. So what do you think this is going to eventually lead to? It's Jake that catches all the blame. All right. Well, he looked suspicious. I was in fear of my life. Blah, 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 blah. For those of you that don't believe in Jacob's trouble, you can't see what this is shaping up to be. Continuing on.
Force to protect your domicile, to protect your children inside it. This is unlike any areas, and so for crime to be hitting hard in this region, it means that it is really hitting everywhere. And that's a little bit of what the locals started to express as we talked to them over the course of the last couple of days. They're seeing crime increase here, and we're getting news reports from across the country that rural crime is increasing. In fact, back near our homestead, just a couple of hours away, there was an altercation that took place with an individual, an erratic individual, trying desperately to get into a school before a standoff or a fight took place with law enforcement, and that individual was neutralized by local law enforcement. People who sent their children to school that day were lucky. Not everyone is going to continue to be lucky. So when Yellen says things like they don't expect this financial crisis to last 10 years, that should be a real wake-up call for you and for your family. that this isn't going to be over next year. There is no sunshine and rainbow on the other side of this hill if we just work
Nope.
hard to get to it. This is a multi-year, possibly multi-decade-long financial disaster, and it's going to take so much perseverance for us to
Engineered, what did I say at the onset? Engineered to break the back of you people, break your will. All right? Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction. Oh, here, I got the solution. I got it right here. When they're the ones behind it all along. Continue.
remain untouched or at least buffered from this crisis. Sullivan says that the United States of America is heavily investing on infrastructure and food security. So if the United States of America is getting ready by investing in food security and infrastructure, what do you think you should do as an individual? You should invest on food security and infrastructure. The cheapest way to start that, of course, is increasing your pantry using already existing food security platforms like rice, which is in abundance and can be stored for a long time. You have flour and oats, which are in abundance and can be stored for a long time. Canned fruit, canned vegetables, canned protein. Once you get your pantry increased, or maybe alongside of it, you need to start thinking about food production. You need to produce your own food on any scale at any level. Whether it's just a couple of tomato plants, maybe growing a potato garden, having some fresh vegetables, or even just a little bit of herbs. No matter what it is, start something.
Speaking of which, especially in the cities, some places it's illegal to do these things. I wonder why.
And start today. Infrastructure, you can start low with a
With everything going on right now and hurricane
Slovakia.
season approaching, it's a good idea to have life-saving food that you can access at any moment.
See these plastic totes right here? Well, I'm going to show you something right now. Some people are
I'll let that play because that's something else you need to consider. There's nothing wrong with preparing, all right? Especially with the foreknowledge of what's coming down the pike. You'd be an idiot not to. Continuing on.
You can start low with a battery backup. You can start with a solar charger, a solar battery backup, a generator they call it, even though it's not really a generator. You can start with some small solar panels. Look at what you really need. What's your critical infrastructure at home? It might be communication, so your cell phone, radio batteries. It could be a satellite phone, like from sat123.com. It could be anything. What's your critical infrastructure? Is it keeping the refrigerator on so that the insulin stays cold?
All right, let's get some scriptures here because let's see. Let's get one right here. Oh, what am I doing? Duh. Salakia. Let's go to Matthew. St. Matthew 24 and 12. Yeah. Sorry about that. And I suggest, for those of you that don't know, just getting into this, read Matthew 24, Luke 21, 2nd Ezra 15th chapter, 2nd Ezra 16th chapter, because we're into these times now. All right. Wow. For those of you that can't see the danger ahead, you are truly blinded. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. All right. And you're seeing this with all these shootings, road rage incidents. People are just, and I think they're having a heat wave out there in the Southwest. Wow. And it's going to get worse. Like he hinted at there, it's not going to get any better. We're talking long term, possibly years, maybe as he said, decades. But this is not going to carry on that long. All right. Because one thing about these Edomites, they're ready to go to war. All right, because they see their situation spiraling down to the point where you're beyond the point of no return. All right, they know this, and it looks like I watched just a little bit of that bullshit ass thing last night about the January 6th, 2021 Capitol Hill uh, insurrection, that whatever you want to call it. And then they had this token Negro from Mississippi start things off. He's supposed to be the chair of that committee. And I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, you know what? Hey, it's just more problems for Jake. All right. All right. So Jake, you know, to get in these positions, they think they're going to turn things around from the inside out. How fucking ignorant, retarded can you be? Our people have been here for centuries, and you haven't figured out that these motherfuckers hate you no matter what your rhetoric is. All right. And people that believe in them are even more simple. All right. So-called elected officials. But in any case, let's see. Oh, I had mentioned, let me go there in passing. Let me go ahead and bring it up. These chapters here, this is the times that we're at now. This is 2nd Ezra 15. And this is what Ezra said. Let's go to 14th verse. He says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. These are the times, people. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. Modern day sword is the gun. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Mainly because the motherfuckers that were supposed to represent you, all right, said fuck you a long time ago. All right, and the real powers that be in this world, the elites, you know, these motherfuckers that you elected, they got strings that are being pulled by those over them. All right. 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able for a couple of reasons. One being, you realize with this pandemic that they cut off a lot of shit for supposed medical reasons. But these are the things that are, you know, when they shut shit out, we talk, when they shut shit down, we were talking at camp. We're right there at an evacuation route, you know, in D.C., downtown there. Hey, for martial law, things of that nature, all right? Because when there's lack of food, these motherfuckers gonna lose their mind. These undisciplined fucks that they are can't go 30 minutes without putting something in their mouth, all right? It's going to be total chaos and anarchy out here. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. You're seeing hey, it was like that really before this started. But shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. Meaning they're going to break into your shit and take your shit. All right, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Behold, said the Most High, I will call. Oh, never mind, that's it on that. But if you go to the next chapter over, 16, from 70 on down, oh, it really gets good. But let's go on over and let's look at from just verse 18. It says, the beginning of sorrows. This is just the beginning, folks. And great mournings, the beginning of famine, and great death, the beginning of wars, and powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, bad times. What shall I do when these evils shall come? This is the prophet Ezra talking about this, all right? Ezra, all right? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. This is not happening for no reason. Look at the wicked ass shit that's been going on in America. Look at the history of this place. You know, 20, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth. They used to be, that's past tense there, that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow up on earth, sword, famine, and great confusion, which you're seeing now. All right. For many, like I said, this is just the beginning. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. There you go. And the 23, and the dead shall be cast out as dung. People here in the States aren't used to living, well, anybody in these so-called civilized countries, but especially these Americans, these privileged ass, spoiled ass, fat ass Americans. All right, they're not sure. They're not death. You know, you should have remembered that from Hurricane Katrina. All right, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down, and there shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. All right, and that's getting even further down the road when we're talking about when these nukes drop. There should be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. And we already know that when all that is done, all right, what's going to be the first job for these Edomites when they're in captivity? Burying the dead, for one. All right, hey, so for time's sake, I'm going to wrap it up here. Now, 26. That's the point I wanted to make. This is video goes on for another, oh my good, 23 minutes roughly, a little over 23 minutes. And I'm not going to post this because, hey, they're probably going to try to get me with a copyright or anything like that. So that's why I usually don't post the addresses. But this is something that you need to know. So I recommend that you go to this man's site. This is Full Spectrum Survival. I'm just doing this for educational purposes and news. I'm not trying to profit off this. All right. So, put that fair use disclaimer out there. Hey, so with that, hey, shalom.